Jamar, do you have a feeling for why is it growing so much faster than most other companies that are in this group?
It's because it's such a specific niche. Like Germeen is now being identified as the go-to channel for nonprofit accounting help. With that niche being so specific, every video that we make for Germeen is being served to the right person because we're optimizing it correctly. We're doing all of the other YouTube SEO things, but then what happens when someone watches that, they start getting into like that binge cycle and they want to be updated whenever she makes another one. Because keep in mind, this is all for nonprofit accounting. So anyone that is subscribing, they have something to do with the financial management portion of their nonprofit.
This is Metrics and Chill, where you'll learn practical strategies to drive consistent and predictable growth.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Metrics and Chill podcast. I am Pete Caputa, today's host and CEO of DataBox. I have two awesome guests here today with me. Jamar Diggs, who I've known for a while, we'll get into that in a bit, who is a YouTube consultant, kind of my go-to guy for YouTube marketing advice. And one of his clients, Germeen Guillaume, runs her own YouTube channel titled Germeen G. Is that what the title of it is?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
Germeen focuses in on providing accounting services to nonprofits, and her channel is all about that today. We're going to talk about how Jamar and Germeen have worked together to make YouTube her primary client acquisition tool. Also uses LinkedIn and gets plenty of word of mouth, but with her ranking stats on YouTube is really leveraging YouTube to drive her business. So let's jump in. First, we're going to talk a little bit about Jamar's business and how he helps people. Jamar, could you tell us kind of how you got started with being a YouTube consultant?
Yeah, it's so funny how I feel like I just fell into YouTube a little bit, where I have a corporate marketing background where I started off as a social media specialist and digital marketing strategist for homes.com, front.com, and a mortgage company. And I've always been attracted to video. And so when I decided to go full time inside of my business in 2020, I was already building up the YouTube channel for the mortgage company, and I had my own already done, but I was focusing on Instagram marketing. And so I was making YouTube videos about Instagram marketing and getting clients and getting clients for Instagram coaching and consulting. And when I started going off on my own, I realized that that wasn't really what I wanted to do. Like I could teach about Instagram for sure, but I really wanted to show people like the magic that can happen when you do YouTube. Like I remember when I first had my channel, and when I first went out on my own, I had someone watch my YouTube video, opt into my lead magnet, buy the tripwire, and then email me in my funnel like a few days after saying, "Hey Jamar, I think I need coaching." And they were ready to pay in full. And so in my head, when you work in corporate marketing, you don't always get to see the all of the pieces that you contribute to, but owning my own business, I saw everything, and I just like the updates were just bing, 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 bing. And I was like, oh my God, this is magic. This is amazing. But obviously we know that it's not magic, it's strategy. And I wanted to really double down on that and really show people how YouTube can be used for business in a more strategic way.
Yeah, awesome. And so fast forward to today, you've been doing it how long now?
Gosh, since 2021. Yeah. So about 3 years now.
And you have a variety of ways that you help people. You help them one-on-one, I think like you do for Jameen. But then you also have like a cohort-based kind of coaching group, correct? And of course, you have your own YouTube channel now.
Correct. Yeah. So I have my YouTube channel. I have my program that helps other business owners launch their channel and create their own strategy. I also have like some other consulting offers where we like do audits, or we do like a 1 month consulting where I audit their actual channel and create the strategy together for them, and so that they can start implementing it. So yeah, I have a few like DIYers in my space, along with some people who really need that strategic support.
Cool. So you're flexible in how you work with people. And I'm guessing you work with people who are like just getting started out with their channel, but also people that kind of like maybe have been doing it for a little while, but haven't quite made it work.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
And then you're working mostly with B2B clients, right? Companies that sell to other businesses like Germeen's.
So actually it's so fun because I get to work with a few ones that also do B2C. Like, for example, I work with a career coach who helps individuals like pivot their careers, right? So they're looking for like their second career. And so it's really, I end up working with either like brands or people who have an expertise that they are looking to sell services or products for.
Awesome. And then, Germeen, could you give us a little bit of background about your business and how you got started and where you're at now?
Yeah. So I run an accounting firm that specifically serves nonprofit organizations, and we've been doing some form of tax and accounting since 2015. So we started out doing mainly taxes, then we switched over to full-blown accounting. And so we provide outsourced accounting to nonprofits. We've been doing this full on since 2018. So working really well. We work with organizations that provide a myriad of services across communities, and it's been really fulfilling to serve them in this capacity.
You said that you listened to some of the podcast episodes, Germeen, and I know Jamar does too, on Metrics and Chill here. But so you probably know this, but I love it when professional services firms focus in on a market because it allows them to really understand that market. There's speaking the right language, understanding how nonprofits are structured. The accounting is obviously quite different for nonprofits because they're probably collecting money in a variety of ways, including many donations, right? And then of course giving money away. So I can't imagine what it's like. And how it's different, but I'm sure it's different, right?
It is. And that's how, and I'm sure we'll get into this maybe a little later, but once I decided to focus my YouTube channel, that's also when I saw the growth. Jamar will probably talk about this, but he's like, you're not an influencer. You have to stop creating content like you are.
The focus in on nonprofit allows you to create content on YouTube that actually drives business for your business.
Exactly.
Not trying to be an influencer and say sell sponsorships or something
right,
like
or
that.
vlogging,
Okay.
the type of things that you kind of see most of. It's like you have to treat the channel, like the business you serve.
Great point. Cool. All right. So today is another, for those of you who listen to Metrics and Chill, today is going to be another behind the benchmarks episode. Germeen is going to open the books, and really open her YouTube channel metrics to us and share them transparently. In past episodes, I was doing the interviewing on the podcast, where I was usually interviewing marketing agencies about their own marketing and sales based on data that I've gathered in a group that I built, a benchmark group that I built. Today, we're actually going to use Jamar's benchmark group. What Jamar has done is used our free software at Benchmark Groups to build a group of businesses that agree to anonymously share their performance data so that they can see how they compare to the rest of the group in aggregate. Now, Germeen is going to, like I said, share openly, so it's not anonymized anymore. But the rest of the data is anonymous. Germeen nor I know who's in that group. And we don't have access, and we're not going to share any of those other companies' data, just compare Germeen's to the median or the top or bottom quartile performers in the group. So that we can see how she's doing in her channel versus other companies that have channels, B2B companies that have channels. So Jamar, do you want to bring up the data and we'll jump in and look at it?
Yeah, sure.
And of course, while we review the data, we will share with you the numbers. So you're not going to see the charts here on the audio podcast, but we'll share with you what we'll verbally explain what we're looking at. And then we're going to talk about the things that Jamar helped Germeen do, or that Germeen did to get these kind of metrics. So Jamar, do you want to read the metrics or do you want me to? It's a big test.
Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous for this test, man. No, but I will read them, but definitely chime in because you can you know all the technical terms. I just like to. You're going to see
Okay.
how I talk about it in my
You
benchmark
do the first
consults.
two, and then I'll chime in. Go ahead.
Okay, so what you're going to see here, Germeen and gang, is that when it comes to subscribers, Germeen is outperforming 67% of the companies in the group, and so what the average is 722 subscribers. Is the average for last month's numbers, and last month Germeen was able to have 2,130 subscribers, and so she's outperforming there. When it comes to views as well.
Before we move on, I'm going to correct you on one thing, because it's a good opportunity for everybody, including people listening, to understand it's actually the median. So the median of the group has 722 subscribers. And then Germeen's channel has 2.13 thousand subscribers, just like you said. You read the numbers. You just said average instead of median. So an average is when you take a group of numbers and you add them together and divide them by the number of companies in the sample. Median is literally just laying out all the numbers in a row in order and picking the middle number. Median is a better number to compare, because if there's a bunch of outliers one way or the other in the group, the medians kind of solves for that. It still gives you like a true typical middle of the road performance. So it's probably not that much different when you actually do the math, but it's important when it comes to statistics. So
oh my gosh,
awesome.
I'm so
Everything
happy for this
perfect.
podcast.
You did
I'm
great.
So
you did great. No, you don't know how many times I have to explain that to people 101, everything. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but it was a good opportunity for me to explain the difference to people. So thank you.
No, for sure. And so looking over it at the views that Jameen's channel has gotten, she has 4,400 views, and the median for last month was just 2,100 views. And so she's outperforming 59% of the companies in this benchmark group. And so we are working on Germeen's channel, honey. It's just like she's doing so great.
Yeah, it's like she's 67% above on subscribers of the median and 59% above on the median. But when you look at her views, and these are all B2B companies, by the way, when you look at the views, she's doing almost 2x the median. So like that's significantly different than the median. Can you remind me, Jamar, how many companies are in this group?
Yes, I think it's 511.
So it's 511 companies who've opted in to benchmark their B2B YouTube channel. So it's a pretty good size sample of B2B companies. So cool. Awesome. Yeah. So nice job, Jimmy. Let me ask you two, and either one of you can answer. What's changed in your strategy that's allowed you to get, to grow your subscribers and get that many views in a month? Because you're a small business, right?
I am a very small business. And so I honestly think that it was once I pivoted my channel from being kind of all of the things to specifically focusing on nonprofits that needed accounting help. And so what I'm finding is that typically when nonprofits are getting started, a lot of things are DIY. So I think they're finding my channel to first start with managing, accounting and learning QuickBooks on their own. And then as they grow, they end up like, oh, now I need somebody. I want to hire you.
So a lot of your clients are smaller nonprofits then, and they're trying to do the accounting on their own. So they go into YouTube and using it probably like a search engine, searching for that, finding you, and it's exactly what they need. And then over time, you're establishing yourself as as an expert and trustworthy because they're seeing you on video, and then they're inquiring. So got it. And is there anyone else on YouTube that does that, does what you're doing, where they're focusing on just accounting for nonprofits?
I know that there is one guy who's actually known for actually helping Intuit create a lot of the features in QuickBooks that relate to nonprofits. So he does it, but he doesn't have an accounting firm. So even though he has some educational material, we still then I think get a lot more people looking at our channel because they know that we're actually in the thick of it. I'm actually doing the thing that I'm speaking about.
Got it. That's awesome.
Can I add something real quick too, Pete?
Yeah.
So, because I'm going to try to not get a little bit too nerdy about Jameen's channel, but one of the things that was really important when we did the strategy was just like how Germeen said, her her business is so different than what's out there like now. And so we wanted to really attract like people who were more problem aware. Like Germeen is a cloud-based accounting like firm. Like that's what she that's her firm. And so and they specifically work with QuickBooks. And so we needed to get people who were in the leadership role of nonprofits and were probably like thrown into this financial management kind of responsibility. And they are now trying to figure out things like maybe they have now been awarded like a grant that now with like a grant, you have to have a lot more auditing and tracking and things like that. And so there's a lot of questions that come up with a nonprofit when it comes to using QuickBooks for that thing. And so really leveraging YouTube to make Germeen the source of truth for that topic. And so that her channel allows them to just start conversations. Like if you look at her comments are wild. Her comments are just people who are literally starting conversations with her and she's answering them, but it gets to a point to where the conversation has to be moved outside of YouTube.
And
right?
I was
so
never getting comments before. Let me be clear. People were rarely
Oh, wow.
commenting.
Okay.
People were rarely ever subscribing for that matter. And I get comments like, I've been looking for someone who was talking about X thing. And so it's really transformed.
And then when they start asking you questions, I'm guessing there's answers they can't give you publicly, right? Or they shouldn't give you
right.
publicly.
Like sometimes it's too involved. If I have another video
Yeah.
that maybe hit on it, I'll share that. But then sometimes it's like, okay, you might need to take the next step because you want me to walk you like step by step. And that might be a little bit too involved.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. And then I imagine some of these conversations need to be somewhat at least confidential to some degree, right? They can't go talking publicly about all their financial matters in a comment thread on YouTube. So got it. Cool. And then how did you decide to make that pivot where it sounded like you're kind of going down the influencer road, maybe talking about accounting, not necessarily, that's more broad topics that weren't necessarily specific to nonprofits. Like, how did you make that decision to go all in on, creating videos for YouTube for nonprofits?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't even trying to be an influencer. In my mind, though, I'm an avid YouTube watcher. So I think I was just mimicking. I wanted to use YouTube for business, but I think I was just more so mimicking what I saw. And so when I realized I wanted to take YouTube seriously, the first thing was like, I wanted to hire someone to help because the editing and all that stuff, I did not want to be responsible for. So then getting with Jamar and then him kind of helping me with strategy was how we started to make that pivot. And when he actually pointed out the fact that like you are a business owner, so how you use YouTube is going to be very different than someone who influencing is their business and how they use YouTube. And that was the first light bulb for me. And then him actually asking me the right questions and helping me pull out what videos we should be doing was how we started to slowly make that pivot. And then when I started to see like, every week, how YouTube sends the emails and I'm like seeing consistent subscriber growth. And then I'm getting comments. I'm like, wow, like I've never had this before. and then that helped
It
to
is an
inform.
amazing feeling.
It is. And then it helped to inform future topics because people are like, oh, well, can you do a video on this and that? And so it just kind of took off from there.
That's awesome. All right, let's get back to the data. Jamar, do you want to share more of the data?
Yes. No, you should do the next one. You should explain the next one.
You want me to do the next one? Okay, I'll see if I can. Yeah, the next one is average percent viewed. So that's what I should cover next. So the average percent viewed is the name of the metrics. This gets a little confusing, so I'm going to go slow. The average percent viewed is the name of that's the average percent that a visitor or viewer watches of a video, and then look at all her videos and then take the average of that. So if like 3 people each looked at 50% of the video, then the average of those 3 people would also be 50%. 50 plus 50 plus 50 times divided by 3. So it's a little complicated. Now, the median value for this metric for the companies in the sample of 500 plus companies is 31.68%. So that means that on average, people are viewing about 32% of videos for most channels. Germeen's is 39.3%, so almost 40%. So they're watching almost 40% on average, so that is outperforming 59% of the group. To put it into perspective, the top quartile, the top 25% of these 500 B2B companies have achieved a 52% average percent viewed value metric. People can't see it, but these charts turn green or red depending on whether you're above the median. or below the median. So when you're above the median, these are green, and pretty much I think all except for one of these metrics for Jameen are green. So she's above the median in all of these metrics. The next one is subscribers gained, and this one kind of you're crushing, Jameen, compared to the group. So the median company got 14 new subscribers last month, whereas in the top quartile got 99 subscribers last month, but you got 147 new subscribers last month. Jamar, do you have a feeling for why it's like growing? It's such a niche, right? It's such a niche in terms of the audience. Like, why is it growing so much faster than most other companies that are in this group?
It's because it's such a specific niche. Like Germeen is now being identified as the go-to channel for nonprofit accounting help, right? And so with that niche being so specific, every video that we make for Germeen is being served to the right person because we're optimizing it correctly. We're doing all of the other YouTube SEO things, but then what happens when someone watches that, they start getting into like that binge cycle and they want to be updated whenever she makes another one. Because keep in mind, this is all for nonprofit accounting. So anyone that is subscribing, they have something to do with the financial management portion of their nonprofit.
No other reason to subscribe. I'm not subscribing to your channel.
Exactly. I am not talking about anything else. I'm not talking about anything else.
If you start a gardening channel or a soccer channel, I'll consider subscribing, but nonprofit accounting, not my bag. Got it. And so is a lot of the new viewers and subscribers coming from search? Can you see that in the analytics, Jamar?
Yes. Yeah. So the majority of Germeen's traffic comes from YouTube search, suggested, and recommendations. And so that means that obviously when someone is searching, right? But then also when someone, maybe they have searched for something, but they couldn't find it, and now they log back into YouTube and it's on their homepage, right? YouTube is also recommending her stuff on the homepage as well. So her videos are continuously recommending each other, suggesting each other, while also past searches that someone has made, YouTube is also serving her videos to them when they come back into YouTube.
Okay. So it's really like YouTube is literally driving traffic and subscribers to her channel because people are searching for this stuff. Yeah.
Yes, Germeen is not. Now, Germeen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not like you're posting these videos every day somewhere that I don't know.
I'll be honest, I don't. I just recently hired a marketing coordinator, but prior to that, I was doing all the things like how it is in small business, and so I don't promote the channel as much as I should. I do put clips on like the LinkedIn company page, and sometimes on my personal page too. But I would say not nearly enough that would be commensurate with the growth that I'm seeing. It really is because people are looking for it.
Awesome. It's funny because I just posted on LinkedIn yesterday an article that basically says you should stop posting educational content on your website for SEO purposes, especially if you're in like a crowded space. You're in a nice niche where it might make sense for you to do that on your website, but there's probably other accounting firms that are much bigger, much older that have a practice related to nonprofits, and so like it's going to be harder because SEO has been around so much longer. Whereas YouTube, it seems to me like it's kind of uncharted territory. There's no one else doing it. And so and we all know that YouTube is the second largest search engine on the planet. So you're basically like tapping untapped SEO opportunities, sort of, even though it's video.
Yeah, I'd say that we have that going for us because many of the old school accounting firms are very much like they're not really promoting on social. And like you said, these blogs are old. The posts have been up. And so I think we have a little bit of an advantage there where I am very active on social.
Yeah, you're not old school, basically. You're actually marketing like you should in 2024. All right, so let's go through some of more of the numbers. So average view duration is also off the charts. You're outperforming 93% of the companies in the group. The median average view duration is 1 minute and 30 seconds for the group of 500 or so channels. and your average view duration is 5 minutes and 12 seconds, which is a long time, honestly, to watch a YouTube video. I'm not sure I watched most Netflix shows that long before I decide to go watch something else. So tell me, what are you doing that's driving such a high view duration?
I think due to it being very niche and the fact that I sometimes am sharing my screen, I'm literally like showing you, like, let's say how to do something in QuickBooks. So I think people are watching, pausing, and then trying to do said thing. So I think what I'm doing is very specific. And so people are like, I want to learn how to do that thing. And so they're watching closely, sometimes probably rewinding and watching again.
Yep, I got it. Okay, very cool. Yeah, so it's like kind of like watching a cooking video. Like my wife and I alternate weeks for cooking dinner, and so when it's my turn, I'm either on Instagram watching a video and like constantly watching it, or pausing on YouTube. So in order to make sure I don't skip an important step, so it's kind of like that. Got it. And so it sounds like your content is very like practical, how-to type content. Is that the majority of
That
it?
is correct. And Jamar, I don't think I told you this, but one of the recent clients, he was like, I was watching your YouTube videos and he was like, and you were showing us how to do something. And he was like, and I was like, this girl knows her stuff. And he was like, that's what made him go and apply for a consult, a discovery call. And so it is very much practical. And I think it helps because a lot of accountants say they can help you with nonprofit accounting, but it is very specific. And so if you are not familiar, you're going to trip and stumble a little bit because it is very different from for profit. And so I think what we've been able to do is really show like we know this space well.
And can I make one more addition to the average view duration metric? So this is probably one of the things that I think people should, or businesses rather, should understand. All of Germeen's content is around her expertise, right? On how she can provide her potential clients value, right? These videos are not entertaining videos. You do not have to fight for like attention. No offense, Germeen, but really a nonprofit leader is not watching for like, how can Germeen make me laugh today? They're saying, how can Germeen help me with this damn QuickBooks account? I am confused. I am lost, right? So just being really confident in the journey your like ideal customer avatar or whatever is in, so that you can really serve them in the way that makes the most sense, right? So you don't have to be entertaining. You can literally give the value because your expertise is the star when it comes to YouTube for business.
Yeah, so it's very practical how to your just getting to know you here a little bit in 15 minutes. I'm guessing you smile and you have.
Oh yeah, I'm very personable and I like video. And that was the thing, I like video. So it was like I, for one point, was going live on LinkedIn weekly, same with Instagram. And so YouTube just felt very also like natural for me. And then I'm like, a lot of accountants aren't doing that. They're mostly doing like written text-based type of content. So I was like, this is perfect.
So you're the second cool accountant I know. My sister is an accountant, and she actually just quit after 20 years of being an accountant and started an interior design business.
Wow, I love that for her.
I should also add that her husband and my brother-in-law is an accountant, so I guess he's cool too. But yeah. So on the next metric we talked about a little bit already, but your comments. So you got 17 comments last month across all your videos. You're outperforming 81% of the companies in the group. But the funny part, what I'm prematurely laughing about, is that the median number of comments amongst these 500 companies last month was 0. Basically, what it's saying is, of all these 500 companies that took the time to benchmark their YouTube performance, their median is 0. So most of them are getting no comments, and you're getting 17. So is it basically people asking follow-up questions, Germeen, or are you doing something to drive comments?
Not really. And I probably could, me and Jamar have talked more about like me doing more like call to actions, but it's like really one of two. It is either people following up and saying like, could you elaborate more on X point, like in another video? Or I'm also more recently been getting other bookkeepers who are like helping nonprofits. And they're like, oh, like this was really helpful. I had no nonprofit experience before this and was looking for some support. And so, and then I honestly find people thanking me a lot for like doing these types of videos because they're like, I had no clue. Because again, even though there are other accountants or bookkeepers maybe doing QuickBooks content, it is not specific to nonprofits, which is very different.
Right. That got it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. Anything else to add on the comments, Jamar?
No, yeah, I think this is just another testament to the strategy doing what it is supposed to do, to start the conversation, like make people want to follow up, right? One of the things, like I said before, is like these videos should be starting a conversation, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. Where again, this is like the most like low lift thing that Germeen could probably do to like reach this amount of people and to get them to act for free. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah. No, it amazes me, Jamar, that I'm very active on LinkedIn. And it's like, it amazes me that more people don't do it in my shoes. It's like the amount of feedback I get, the amount of attention it gets, the amount of sharing it gets, the amount of influence I can have over people already doing business with us. It's just like, it literally checks every possible marketing box, and YouTube's might even be even better because people, it adds the search component to it where people are searching for this information, and now you're interacting with them, they're following you, you're nurturing them. So it's like, you basically don't need a website, and you could, not saying you shouldn't have a website, but you don't really need it. You can market and build a funnel completely through YouTube. So it's impressive. Shares is also off the chart. So you have, last month you had 91 shares, meaning 91 times people shared a video from your channel. You are outperforming 69% of the companies in the group. The median in the group had 24 shares last month. So you're almost 4x, not quite 4x the number of shares of the median or typical company in the group. That's impressive. It just keeps getting more impressive. So anything to add on shares? Are you doing anything there, or is it just happening naturally?
That is definitely happening, I think, naturally. But I also sometimes will say, I try to switch up like the call to action. So sometimes I will say, like, share this with someone that that needs this information. I'll try to encourage shares that way. And so my thought is, if you're an executive director, you probably know another executive director who could use this information. And so I do encourage them to, like, viewers to share the content.
There's probably an element of like, one accountant sharing it with another accountant if they're trying to customize for a nonprofit client. There's probably an element of the executive director sharing it with her accounting or his accounting firm, right?
Oh, I
So
definitely would
there's
agree,
probably
because
that kind of sharing.
I've had executive directors reach out and will say, like, they actually have an accountant, but it's like, oh, but they don't do it how you do it, like, type of thing. And so they might look for like some
Yeah.
additional feedback. And it's like, I like how you do
Yeah.
it. Do you have any resources? Or some of them will actually look for, do you do one-on coaching or consulting? Because I just need you to look at,
Okay.
this thing.
I see. That's cool. And do you do that? You'll
I
do that
hope
kind of
to
work?
do it, but we like to stay in our lane. And,
Okay.
and I
Got
have
it.
a small team. And so as it stands, we don't do any one-off services, but I think as we grow, that is something that we'll consider.
And so just to be clear, your business is taking on clients where you're doing their accounting for them. They're outsourcing.
Absolutely. So it is recurring. It is recurring. So we like to look at we like to look at it as a partnership. And it's like, we handle all the things. So payroll, all the things, so that they don't have to hire in-house.
Got it. And I think you mentioned earlier, you have two full-time employees, you're the owner, one other person, and then you have other part-time, three other people that help you with part-time. And the part-time people, are they helping you as like in tax season, or how do you manage that?
So we don't do taxes because I don't want to get too jargony. So we don't do taxes because just for segregation of duties. And so we specifically stick into the accounting lane. However, we support clients who then have to get their taxes done and who are audited by an independent CPA. So we kind of serve as like the liaison.
Okay, I gotcha. Got it. Cool. All right. So this is the one metric where you're in the red and you're in the bottom 38% of the companies in your group. It's subscribers lost. You had 8 subscribers lost compared to the median in the group, which is 3. So it's really an insignificant thing, especially since I think we just discussed it. I think you gained 147 subscribers. Was it up top? So 147 minus 8 is 139 or so. So your net subscriber growth is way above here in the group as well. And so no big deal. Kind of just going to skip over that. I'm guessing that's a typical loss of subscribers when you have 2,100 subscribers, Jamar. Have you looked at enough data to make that conclusion?
Yes, I think we just have to accept that you're going to lose subscribers. And so I don't really dwell on it any as much. Same thing if you had like an Instagram account, things fluctuate. It could have been a bot, maybe.
Yeah,
Like
an
it
email
could be.
list, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
People are going to just get tired of it or don't need it anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let's end on the crown jewel here. People are spending collectively 16 days, 4 hours and 32 minutes with your content last month. Last month, they spent 16 plus days with your content. The median of the group had watch time of 2 days, 8 hours and 49 minutes. So that means people are spending like a full long vacation with you, whereas most people are taking a long weekend. Most channels are accruing a long weekend worth of watch time. So that's really impressive. You're outperforming 71% of the companies in the group. I'm guessing it has to do a lot with the length of your videos in terms of how long people are watching them, and like we talked about a minute ago. But yeah, weigh in. What do you think?
I think length, but also type. So a lot of times I am doing how to, and like I said, I will share my screen and I will walk you through. And so I think people literally are like step by step kind of looking and watching. And so I think it's the type of content as well as the reason why they're like watching so long. And yeah, my videos are pretty succinct. I get to the point, and so they're not super long. But yeah, and I think people appreciate that because they're like, I just want to see how to do this thing. I'm not looking for like a lot of fluff.
Yeah, they're appropriately long for what you're trying to convey,
Exactly.
communicate, and teach, right? Yeah, but it is a lot of time. So that's a lot of time people. So I'm guessing they're watching. Some people are watching it multiple times.
I would think
And,
so because it
and
can be
so,
complex, some
yeah.
of the topics. And so I'm sure some people are like rewinding and like, let me see that again.
Mhm. And when you think about it too, like this is also the byproduct of them just binging your entire channel as well.
The content is
right?
evergreen
So,
because that's the other thing. So
Mhm.
it is very like you can watch a video from last year and it is still applicable now. And I think that's also the beauty of me being so niched.
like people are going to end up watching other videos that Germeen does. Like if there's a video about chart of accounts, we have another video about the mistakes that people make with chart of accounts. We have so it's like this whole type of I call it like a mini YouTube funnel. Yeah. So we use we use my signature framework, which is like a little YouTube funnel inside there where we take a topic and then we break it down in three or four different ways, and it's there to teach them. Like there's like that how to, but then there's also that shifting perspective type of video where Germeen can really talk about her thought leadership in some kind of way. Like what is her opinion? That's why like they like it the way that Germeen does it. And then we're also combating a few objections like maybe comparing two tools together or talking about what are some of those things that people think about whenever they don't want to maybe move forward with cloud accounting or something like that, right? So QuickBooks Desktop versus QuickBooks Online, right? What is the best option for you? So so you're not just watching one video when you get to Germeen's channel. You're watching multiple.
Yeah, I think we just covered a lot of tips as we went through that data. So I think, the fact that you're doing longer form videos, very how to, that you're focused in on a niche. We didn't even look at your channel, but I looked at the channel before and I can see you've done an amazing job with your thumbnails and the topics and the titles. Like it's very clear that you two collectively have really thought through how to build a library of content that people are not only going to find and search, but then subscribe and reference when necessary. So really amazing job. Can you give us a little bit of a insight, Germeen, into how this has impacted your business and your client acquisition?
Yeah, so it took some time, I would say, to start to convert. But I think the beauty was that I was being consistent. So when people found me, they could binge the content. And so I find that people would watch me subscribe for a while before it ended up turning into a discovery call. But the last about 5, because we typically keep a roster of about 20 to 25 clients on hand at any one time. And the last 5 clients in our application, to book a discovery call said they found me from YouTube. And so I am finding that it is now paying dividends. But I've been working with Jamar, I don't know, maybe almost 2 years or something like that. It's been a bit of time now. And I am now starting to pick up steam where I'm finding that people are converting, but I also think people stick with accountants for a long time. You know, so it's a little bit like the going from like finding me to becoming a client, it's a bit longer. And so I'm glad that I have the channel, but now I definitely am seeing it pay dividends. And people, one client was like, I was watching your videos because they were having some trouble with their current accountant and they wanted to see how someone else did it. And he was like, this girl knows her stuff. And then he went and booked a discovery call and he's a client now. And so I definitely feel like it shows that we know what we're doing. And then people are like, oh, I like how you do that. And then it leads them to want to book a call.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like we have an accountant here, Databox, of course, accounting firm that we use. I can't imagine switching. It's just, there's so much history and understanding of the account. And I'm sure that a new accountant could get up to speed on it quick, but like for me to remember even all the details to share with a new accountant is intimidating and daunting. So like switching just feels like unnecessary brain surgery unless.
And that's why people stick with accountants for a really long time. And I think I've talked with Jamar about that. So we've done videos about like knowing when you should move on, like why should you choose someone who's remote versus like an accountant that's local, right? And stuff like that. Because, you know, it's nonprofits and they're very much community based. So many of them are working with like local in-town accountants. But now post-COVID era, people are remote. You need to be well-versed in the cloud. And so we really lean heavily into that because that has now been our like distinguishing factor.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Jamar knows that I spent a lot of time with marketing agencies, and COVID was like the final kick over the edge in terms of companies, even small businesses, selecting agencies that were beyond their geographical area because of their focus in a specific market or industry or type of business that they work with. So I can see that maybe accounting would be a little slower, but I imagine that COVID gave it a kick because everybody's working remotely, regardless of whether you're 10 miles down the road, you're still doing Zoom for the most part. So people got used to this virtual collaboration after COVID. And give us a feel for it's like the impact it's had on your business percentage wise, like in terms of growth. It sounds like you've been at it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to you, by the way, for sticking with it.
Yes.
But give us a feel for like the growth that you've achieved recently and that you credit to YouTube.
I'd say YouTube within the last 12 months pushed us. So we were like hovering very much so over that 200K ARR for quite some time. And between YouTube and I would say couple that with LinkedIn and just us being visible really kicked us over to now we are approaching 300K ARR. And I find that with these last clients, the beautiful part is like it's recurring. So with them coming on and people tend to stay with us, we don't churn. We have a very low churn. And so just forecasting out, we will most certainly close the year, if not at 300K, a little bit over. And like I said, those last 5 clients came through YouTube. And I imagine we still have a couple more months left. And so hopefully some more will come on over through the YouTube channel.
That's awesome. So almost 25% of your clients are new in the last year. And that's driven about 50% year over year growth. You correct me if my math is wrong there, doing the percent change.
Yeah. And so, and which is another reason why I was like, I have to double down. And it's been difficult lately, but I'm like, YouTube is the one. And so I'm like, I told you, I'm like, if nothing else, I was like, I have to be consistent there because I'm literally seeing the effects in the business.
Yeah. Are you, at what point will you hire another full-time person? Have you done that math?
So actually, the plan is we just brought on a senior accountant and now I'm planning to bring on an account manager. So I will actively be hiring in this next month. We're like, I'm literally working with an HR consultant now. Cause I'd like to spend more time with these type of things. So like the YouTube and kind of being, I guess what people would be like the face. And so, because as it stands now, I am still like a key employee really heavily involved in like the client delivery. And so I'm looking to almost replace myself.
That's huge. I also don't want to overlook the fact that you're like doing good for the world. I interviewed a woman about a month or two ago, Andy Graham. She runs a marketing agency called Big C, and they exclusively help nonprofit organizations. And one of her drivers is that she's helping nonprofit organizations who generally are doing things that are so important and so needed in our communities. And I imagine you feel and are driven maybe for the same reasons. I can't imagine the types of organizations that you're helping, not just from your services, obviously that's important, but from the educational perspective, you're probably helping maybe probably 1,000x the number of organizations through your YouTube content as you are in your own services. And so it's awesome that you're doing that. I want to commend you for.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I was a former auditor. I worked for EY for years. And once I switched over to nonprofit work, mirroring, matching that prior expertise and bringing over some of that corporate style into this space, it's just been phenomenal. And I love it because it's also fulfilling due to the fact that I'm like, I can see the effects of the work we're doing with them and how they're able to then, affect more lives, more change as they get funding, right? And they're able to show through their financials that they are great stewards of the funding and things like that. So I love this work.
Jamar, if you have a few more minutes, I'd love to dig into a little bit of how you use the benchmark, not just to help your clients, like Germeen, but also in your sales and marketing processes, because I know you've been very successful with that yourself.
Oh yeah. So the benchmark consult, let me back up a little bit. So I am continuously like marketing my business, right? So I have my own YouTube channel, I have my own weekly newsletter, and there's so many ways for someone to like get into my world. And I have found that really pitching the benchmark consult to be the best when like they know who I am, and then like they're like, how can I get Jamar on the phone? So to where it's more so like them feeling like they need to get me on the phone versus like me thinking, how can I get them on the phone with me? And so what happens is that they end up seeing like the option to book the benchmark consult, and we get on the call together, and they end up telling me everything that I need to know about their YouTube channel, their business. They open up. It's so great. And then we go through the metrics together. And so it's a whole conversation between like, how do they feel about the metrics that they see now? And then me kind of like giving some insight of how it could be, or like, what are some of those opportunities that they could take advantage of to bridge that gap to end up being like the outperformer inside of that metric. And after we start talking, they start thinking, you know what you're talking about. And they feel comfortable, right? And so they start asking me about what options they should go with, right? And so I've been able to convert like quite a few people into my program for the people who want to start the channel, to launch the channel like the right way. So some of them, they had a channel, but they were doing it through the lens of like maybe an influencer, or they just didn't have it set up the right way. And so them actually looking at the benchmark group and how it relates to other like business type of YouTube channels, they're like, oh shoot, I'm doing something wrong. And so it's so great to kind of win them over to like the YouTube for business side and show them how things can be when they start leveraging it the right way. And so I start building that trust with them like almost immediately after showing them all of the metrics.
I follow you, obviously. So I follow your YouTube channel. I also get your newsletter. So I could see you're writing very practical content about how to use YouTube if you're a business. And that's, how you're able to help Germeen. And you're marketing yourself that way. And so what you're saying is that you've created a group, a benchmark group, the one we just went through, and you invite your prospective clients into that group to compare their performance against the median of the group. And in those scenarios, I'm guessing that you often see a lot of red, right? A lot of red charts where people are underperforming the median. Yeah. And so during those conversations, you could talk to them about what they are and aren't doing, similar to the way we talked about it with Germeen. But in their case, they're not doing most of the stuff that you would recommend. And at that point, you suggest to them that you can either help them one-on-one, or they can join your community where you're helping people in small groups and through training and through some coaching. After this consult, you've been able to acquire a bunch of new clients that way into your community. And that's kind of what you're saying, it seems. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. As you know, it's been a passion project of mine to help consultants and marketing agencies, and actually even accountants, Germeen, to use benchmark data to help them in their marketing and sales process, to help them point out to their prospects that they could be doing better than others if they were to follow best practices. And you have all those best practices up in your head, whether it's YouTube marketing or accounting, but you
I think I need to jump on the bandwagon.
The median. Yeah, you can't commute the median of 20 different metrics and keep that in your head and present it with credibility, whereas the data, doesn't lie and can show them very quickly how they compare. So thank you both for sharing today how you're building your businesses and all the YouTube success that you've had. I'm very grateful for hearing the story and being able to share it with our audience. Anything else either one of you would want to add before we wrap up?
I don't have anything additional to add, but this was great. Like I said, I'm an avid listener to your podcast and I follow you on LinkedIn. So this was nice being able to actually be on.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I think, Jamar, we talked about it. I'm going to have you come back. We've been doing a survey together on YouTube marketing best practices. If anyone wants to take that survey or do a benchmark consult with you, Jamar, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way?
Yeah, so the best way would probably be to go to my website, jamardiggs.com /benchmark consult, or just go to my website and you'll find the benchmark consult right there. Or find me on LinkedIn, Jamar Diggs, even on Instagram as well, Jamar Diggs. Shoot me a message and we can start a whole conversation from there.
Cool. And it sounds just like it's spelled just like it sounds, JAMARDIGGS.com. Cool. Well, thank you both once again. We'll wrap here and wish you both a beautiful rest of your day.